Hey everybody, welcome back to the Doug Watt Bizarro channel. Now it's been a while since I've uploaded anything in terms of reviews or things like that. I've been uploading some, weird short films that I've made over the past few years, things like that. Kind of giving this channel a new lease on life, if you will. I mean, I've had this one since 2009, so I'm kind of just dusting the dust off the shoulders there and hopefully giving some new life into this channel. It's been around for that long, and might as well try to get some new subscribers, things like that. Basically, blow the dust off this corpse. Anyway, for one of my videos I'm going to do, I wanted to do this for a while here now. I know I've missed the past few Friday the 13th actual days where people make videos like this and do their rankings and so on and so forth, and I've just kind of missed it out. But now, I'm back. I've got my camera here all set up for you. Nice mic going on there. Hey! See? It sounds good. You just sound like shit before. Everything used to sound like a little tin. But no, not with this mic. So, if it's coming across good, here's my voice, all nice and micy. Alright, here we go. So we're going to go with 12 on to 1 in terms of my favorite Friday the 13th films. Now, it's going to be a little bit controversial. I already know that. So, fuck you, and fuck your mom, too. Alright, let's go with my number 12. Alright, this is one that's people kind of already know that already. But yeah, we're going to go with Jason X. Now the reason I make this my number 12, let me make a disclaimer first. I enjoy all the Friday the 13th films, but since I have to rank them from 12 to 1 as my personal favorites, I guess I'll just go with number 12 for this one, Jason X. Now the reason I don't care much for this one is I'm not much into the sci-fi type genre. And this one here, it almost feels like Star Trek meets Jason. And then they gave Jason some hair in the beginning of it. I don't know. This movie, it's entertaining for what it is, but for me, it's not the one that I'll sit and watch and spend an hour and a half of my day watching. It didn't really click with me. I can't really explain it. I know there's some people out there that love this movie for its mindless entertainment, but I'm not one of those people, sadly. Next up, we got Friday the 13th, the remake. Now, I went to go see this with my brother when it came out in theaters. I enjoyed it then, but the thing is, after watching it again now, it just feels it just feels too crisp and clean. It feels more Michael Bay than anything, and I know he did, Platinum Dunes, he did produce this thing, so there you go. I'm not too much into the Michael Bay type movies in terms of remakes. I just think they're too clean and crisp and Hollywoody and just by the books. And this one for me, I don't know. I mean, the first 15 minutes was cool, but after that, where Jason takes a hostage, not my thing. I don't know. This is just a movie that Friday the 13th feels like it needs to be set into the 80s. That's just my personal opinion. Like that's the kind of layer of the cake of it. I don't know, it just feels like any sort of killer movie, and then when he took the hostage, come on, it's more like Hills Have Eyes type stuff as opposed to, Jason. But, yeah, so that's my number 11. Alright, and the next one, number 10. Yeah, I get a lot of flack for this one here, but, I mean, I enjoy Freddy vs. Jason for what it is. I just wish that this movie, I know it was in development hell for the longest time. I just wish it was around 87, 88, almost when, when they were at their peak climax of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. The thing that really kills this movie, I love the Freddy and I love Jason, their fight scenes in this, but I hate those fucking teenagers. Like, it's that really stupid, like, late 90s, early 2000s, almost, Rebelde type, I don't know, 90210, Dawson's Creek type era. I didn't like the teenagers in this movie. I hated the style of it, and the one main girl, she's supposed to be like 16 or 17. She's fucking like 32. The biggest tits I've ever seen on that 17, But anyway, yeah, Freddy vs. Jason, it holds up to its name in the last 20 minutes or so. But like I said, the movie that really, it kills this movie because of the era it's set in. That's my opinion. Alright, on to the next one here. I'm gonna go Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. I like this movie. I enjoy it. We're starting to get into movies that I could actually sit down and, kill some time watching. But yeah, Part 7, I think this one has the one of the best zombie looks of Jason, him riding and everything. And but what really kills this one for me, and I know it's not the filmmaker's part, it's the MPAA. They neutered this movie till it's almost like literally it's almost bloodless if you think about it. But anyway, yeah, I mean, there's some cool telekinesis, but I don't know, Tina just, I don't know, it was just it felt like a very weird and rushed Friday the 13th movie. I enjoy it for what it is. I like the bitchy blonde girl, but you know, the VHS is cool. I mean, him on the back there and things like that. It's not a terrible movie, it's just not one of my favorites. Alright, and the next one we got up here is Friday the 13th Part 3. And the reason I'm ranking this one a little lower is because I recently watched it again. The last chase scene is pretty cool, but everything else up to that is pretty cookie cutter. It's pretty cardboard and it's pretty 2D as opposed to being in 3D. What I mean by that is the characters. Not very memorable on my part, but yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's definitely dated. The 3D effects, when you're not watching it in 3D, it's very gimmicky. You know, you got the eyeball going out to the screen, you got the snake popping out, but of course when I watch it, it's like two snakes coming out to the side. But I mean, it's fun once Jason starts getting rolling in the hour mark. It turns into a lot of fun. So it's another one there for me. Alright, and the next one we're going to go with, I actually don't have this one on DVD, but I have it in my Blu-ray collection. It's Friday the 13th Part 2. Now, I enjoyed this movie. I saw this one young as a kid. After watching it again, too, it's another one that it takes its time. The build-up is worth it. But yeah, it's just, like I said, once we start getting to Part 7, that's on my list. That's all the movies I can watch without, you know, really having any issues with. So I enjoy them pretty much all the same. But I do have my ranking system, which shows you which one is my favorite. But like I said, Part 2 is great. Sackhead Jason's cool. It's almost like the Town That Dreaded Sundown. So I don't know if there was any issues with that, because I know Town That Dreaded Sundown came out way earlier than Friday the 13th Part 2. But I like Jason's mom's head in there. It's kind of a staple in all the Friday the 13th movies now, having Jason's mom's head. But yeah, so that's Part 2. Alright, the next one we got here, I'm knocking all my shit over. Alright, Jason Goes to Hell. Now, a lot of people hate this movie. They usually put this on their last, the last number 12 on their Friday the 13th ranking. Me, on the other hand, I gave it another watch, and you know what? I enjoyed it. It's very different. If you watch a whole marathon of these movies, this is just kind of something refreshing. Yeah, Jason's not in it throughout the whole movie, but it's just kind of cool to see him go running around possessing people. And besides, it's got the some of the goriest kills in it. Really cool special effects with the cop melting and everything like that. It reminded me kind of The Fly, and I love me some practical effects, and this movie's got a ton of them. Another thing I like too is the 2-for-1 Jason is Dead burgers. That was pretty cool. I wish they did make burgers like that, because I would drive 2 hours to go to a place to get Jason burgers. But anyway, yeah, I enjoyed the offbeat cast on this one here. There's not, it's like a scene with like 3 teenagers in it that get killed in the tent. But most of the time it's, you got Duke, you got a bounty hunter, and you got some nerdy guy who ends up being the hero. And then, like I said, you got the fat lady, and then the old guy that run that burger shop. And yeah, it gets a little ridiculous with Jason's sister and all that, the lore of it. But it's just, this is a popcorn movie. You sit down, you turn your brain off, and you enjoy it. Plus, you get to see a demon serpent go up a lady's pussy, so there's that. Alright, the next one we got here. Yeah, this is everybody's favorite one, right? Jason Lives. I like this movie too. Like I said, I really have no complaints about it. I think it is a little bit overrated. That's just me putting my 2 cents out there. I do think it is overrated. The kills are pretty cool in this one here. This one's got no boobs or tits or sex. It's got one sex scene, but it's very PG-13 like, so it does skimp in that area for the pervert that I am. But anyway, Part 6, Jason Lives. This is a very, I call this the Fulci zombie / Home Depot zombie Jason. So think of Fulci zombie, and he's wearing a Home Depot outfit. That's kind of what it reminds me of. But yeah, this is the one where Tommy Jarvis kind of became the hero of it. I'll get on that later. But yeah, I enjoyed this movie. The great Alice Cooper songs in this one here. But yeah, Part 6, great fun. Alright, the next one we got here is Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. This is a movie, believe it or not, when I first seen this years back, I did not really like this one. The reason being it was because I saw it on a taped VHS copy. The copy was in like EP mode. It was very dark and grainy, and I couldn't really see what was going on. And but now that I got this is the DVD version. I do have it on Blu-ray. But now that I've seen the Blu-ray, I kind of breathe new life into it because I'm like, this is a really good. I can actually see the darker scenes now, and the effects are great. Tom Savini's back in it doing the effects. I enjoy Jason. Like I said, this one. He doesn't really start killing many people until like the 45 to an hour mark. But yeah, like I said, I think the love of this movie from the fans and kind of hyped it up a bit too much for me, so that's why I kind of ranked it a little lower than some of my top favorites. But yeah, it's a great one. I enjoy it. It's definitely not my number one. Alright, next one we got is number one, Friday the 13th, the original, uncut. I enjoy this movie a lot. This was the first one I seen, believe it or not. And the cool thing about this was that my whole expectation when I first seen it is that I was expecting Jason, but I appreciate it now because it's Jason's mom, so it's more bent on reality, so to speak. Because think about it, you go to the middle of the woods, you're at a camp, and some middle-aged woman is trying to be friends with you, and then she turns out to be a psychopathic killer. And it could happen. So the killer of this movie, blue sweater and all, it could happen. It's call it fucking Alzheimer's if you want to. But yeah, Jason's mom's the killer. I love that aspect. I love the whodunit aspect of that. But yeah, so that's the original. Alright, next up, what do we got here? Here we go. Numero dos, Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Who'da thunk it, right? This movie is a pinnacle of, to me, this movie is kind of like a time capsule. It's everything that I like about the 80s movies. It's got that, it's got the soundtrack, it's got an obsession with toxic waste, how dirty and rapey they make New York City out to be, and it's just a very fun movie. Anytime it's on, I'll sit down and watch it. I never tire of this movie. But yeah, I know a lot of people hate it because of the name. Jason doesn't take Manhattan until the last 15-20 minutes or so, and when he does, it's underwhelming. Here's the thing with that. You gotta enjoy this movie like, it's almost like a fine wine, if you think about it. Think about the hair, the music, things like that. This movie is just, it's a time capsule of the 80s for me. So I enjoy this movie for what it is. And I enjoyed the slimy Jason throughout to kind of the heavy breathing Kane Hodder. So I think Kane Hodder is at his finest in this movie. But yeah, a lot of people hate this movie. I love it. That's Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Death by guitar, death by final blow on a boxing match on top of the roof. And like I said, Jason almost turns out to be a hero during the rape scene. So there's like a drug and rape scene in there. But yeah, so it's just very... it's very typical 80s, very, like almost like a Saturday morning cartoon where they make New York City out to be a smog-ridden, just a disgusting, horrible, unlawful place to live. And I love that. You can only get that from the 80s, and Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, is probably a perfect example of that. Alright, you guys ready for this one? This is my final favorite Friday the 13th. Let me get my boy Roy over here. Roy will help me introduce this movie to you. Yeah, I got Roy right there. Oh. Alright, so for my favorite Friday the 13th, we've got Part 5, A New Beginning. Let me explain myself before we start pulling out the pitchforks, chainsaws, knives, and hedge trimmers. Part 5 to me is the movie that, and I seen this one young as a kid too, but let me put Roy here, he might cut me with those scissors of his. He's got a thing against chocolate, so... Alright, but anyway, so Friday the 13th Part 5, this is a movie that is either loved or hated by fans, and I tend to disagree with the hate on that. I totally think this is, if you want to watch a Friday the 13th movie, and you want to have, if you don't care about Jason too much, and you want to have like the whodunit aspect, just the kills, the sleaziness, the pervertedness, and a perfect 80s comedy slasher, this is the best you're gonna get, people. But yeah, if you think about it, this whole movie revolves around, basically this whole movie starts because of a fat guy in his chocolate bar. And that's, where do I start from that? I love Roy the paramedic. It was an unexpected turn at the end. And here's the thing about Friday the 13th Part 5. Part 5, the cast of characters in this movie is so ridiculous and zany and just, you can't relate to any of the characters in this movie, and that's what makes them so fun to see them get killed or, you know, see them interact with the other characters in this movie, because everybody in this movie is batshit crazy. And even the quiet guy, Roy, you know, and Tommy's in this movie too, but he almost takes a back seat because I like to think of this movie as murder vignettes. Whenever there's a scene that's going to happen, it's with characters that you've seen only 2 minutes into the, you know, 2 minutes here and there, so you don't really care. You know they're going to get killed. But, yeah, this movie has the whodunit aspect of it. It's got chainsaw fights in it. It's got Ethel and Junior, two redneck hillbillies that you don't really get in any of the other Friday the 13th movies. And like I said, this movie is just chock full of dark humor. And the thing I like about it more than Part 6 is that Part 6 was made to be winking at the camera. It's made to be, it was made to be comical and poking fun at itself. Part 5, on the other hand, is completely serious. That's what I like about that's what I like about this movie. This movie plays it completely serious. You're not laughing with the filmmakers. You're not laughing at the crew. You're laughing at the situation these characters are in. It's almost like Return of the Living Dead to me. For the most part, Return of the Living Dead plays it serious for the characters. They're not winking at the camera and stuff like that. But you're just laughing at the situation they're in. And that's kind of how this movie is. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's over the top. It's got the best hits in any movie, if you will, too. And the director of this, Danny Steinman, it's kind of funny because maybe that's another reason I love this movie as much as I do too, because back in Cinema Wasteland, many years ago, we watched Part 5 with Danny Steinman, the director, and what he said, he was just hilarious. Like there was live commentary throughout the movie. It was probably the funnest time I've had at a screening. And from what he told me too, which would have made this movie a lot, well, first of all, Danny Steinman used to direct porn, so that's why this movie is very dirty and grimy, and it almost makes you feel greasy after watching, you know what I mean? It's almost like you had to take a shower after watching it, because the voyeuristic shots of nudity in this movie, just the mean-natured spirit of every single character. Like, almost every character in this movie fights. No one's happy with each other, which, you know, adds more to the absurdity of it. And the thing that I wish they would have kept in the movie, and I looked on IMDb, I couldn't find any other news about this, but when I was at the convention, I remember someone asking why he chose Roy to be the killer as opposed to Tommy or Jason. And so it was the whole thing with the chocolate bar and the fat kid was his son. But one thing I would have loved if they would have done, this movie would have made it pure sleaze. This movie would have made this the dirtiest, filthiest Friday the 13th. They were going to make Roy high on PCP, which would have explained why he would have broke down doors, was able to throw people through windows, and things like that. So, I mean, of course, he said Paramount would never let him do anything like that. You know, think a drugged out Jason, or a drugged out guy dressed as Jason because he's high on PCP and he's pissed. How awesome would that would have been? You know, how awesome. Roy, high on PCP, going around and pretending he's Jason. I mean, that would have been the frosting on the cake, if you will. But yeah, I absolutely love Friday the 13th Part 5. In fact, I'm going to a convention next week dressed as Roy Burns, so I've got my mask right there. I've got some garden shears. I've got the outfit in the closet. But yeah, Friday the 13th Part 5. If you want a dirty, grimy, slimy piece of 80s whodunit, and you don't mind not having Jason in the movie, this is great. I love Friday the 13th Part 5. And yeah, that's my that's my spiel on why I enjoy Friday the 13th Part 5 so much. So check it out. If you're gonna watch one Friday the 13th movie this week, make it Part 5. Give Roy some love.